Have you ever wondered why you can build new habits, read all the right books, even change your routine, but still feel like the same person on the inside? It's because you can change your actions, but your identity quietly pulls you back. You're not lazy. Your mind is just loyal to an old version of you. And in this video, I'll show you how to break out of that loop because a neuroscience study found that when people try to change their behavior without changing their identity, the brain literally resists them. It treats growth like danger. That's why you can start fresh every Monday yet end up back at square one. But the moment your identity shifts, your brain flips its wiring and change becomes effortless. Let me show you how to reprogram that switch. Ever since I was a kid, there was this one question that always baffled me because all around me I would see different kinds of people. There would be some people who are like really good at what they do, so I'd wake up and I'd see them from my balcony running and exercising and feeling good about themselves. And at the same time, I knew of people, of friends, of others around me who just couldn't do that. And I always heard them saying at the dinner table, oh, you know what? This week, I'm going to start exercising. From next month, I'm going to start preparing for a marathon. After that, I'm going to do all these amazing things. But then I would see they never did any of that stuff. And I'm sure you can relate to some of that because somewhere you've also made those kind of promises, haven't you? Maybe to somebody else, maybe to yourself, but you have. You have ended up saying, oh, you know what? I'm going to make this big change. But then, no matter how much you try, that change just doesn't happen. So when I started out on my journey of self-improvement, of helping people feel empowered, the very first blog I wrote was in fact on this very topic of habits. Now back then I was a bit too naive, but now I understand exactly what it takes to reprogram your mind to not only build the right habits, but to also make sure that they stick around with you. And that change, my friend, lies in your identity. Because think about it. If you've ever tried to update your laptop or update your phone, you've probably encountered this message that this app can only support the updated version of the software. Now, no matter how much you try, you cannot use that app if the software or the operating system of your laptop is not updated. Now, why is that? Well, it's because the software has certain requirements or certain conditions that only the new system can fulfill, the old one cannot. And it would be crazy for you to just be there and say, oh no, I'm gonna make it work. I know I have the willpower. I know this app is going to work on the old OS. People will call you crazy because that's not how things work. Well, guess what? Even our lives don't work that way. Yes, we feel the need to change a lot of things in our life, but our OS or our identity or our basic system, that is our psychology, is still the same. It's like trying to run the most heaviest of games on a laptop from 1995. It's not gonna work. But you're doing that with your identity. You're doing that with your habits. You're doing that with all these big goals that you promise to yourself but never end up fulfilling, because no matter how hard you try, you cannot achieve new things on an outdated identity, just like you cannot unlock and use new apps on an old software. So the question is this: what do you need to change first? Is it really the habits? Or is it the OS first? Is it the software, the identity that you are acting from? Well, it's the latter, because the moment that changes, everything else in your life changes. And I'm not just saying that for the sake of it. I'm saying that with solid proof. Because I think we can form one conclusion, right? That the hardest habit to break are addictions, especially addictions like smoking and drinking. But what if I told you that this shift I'm telling you about, this tiny identity shift, is quite literally the difference between people who quit smoking successfully and people who relapsed back even after a year? Well, guess what? Here is what happened. The people who relapsed, here's the conversation that they had when they were in parties or when they were around friends who smoked. They said, no thanks, I don't want a cigarette because I'm trying to quit. So they were trying to quit, they were doing everything, but honestly, it didn't work Eventually they relapsed. But the second kind, the ones who didn't relapse, what did they do? They just changed this entire sentence by one word. And they said, no, sorry, I don't want a cigarette because I'm not a smoker. You saw that difference, right? The assertiveness in the first statement is way lesser than the assertiveness in the second one, because that is a new identity. I'm not a smoker. The person who believes that will not even try to go near a cigarette. But a person who believes I'm trying to quit, well, that person is going to get tempted because in their mind, their identity is still of being a smoker. So tell me this. What are the identities that you are holding on to? The identities that no longer serve you, but just because they've been in your past, you're still carrying them into your life. That's your first reflection question for today, by the way. So if you have your pen and notepad with you, sit with me here, write this down. What are the old identities that you have been holding on to that you really need to let go of? Maybe an identity of being a smoker if that's your addiction. Maybe an identity of being a distracted person. Maybe an identity that I'm not good enough. So no matter how many habits you build, you can never feel good enough if that's the emotion that you are constantly stuck with. So this is the first step towards building habits that last. Identify the old identities that are blocking you from the change that you want. And I'll give you my example here as well. The number one identity that was blocking me in making my videos, in communicating with you, was this. I'm a good speaker on stage, I just can't speak on videos. Now, no matter how much I prepped myself, I could have danced my heart out before making a video like this, but the moment I saw this camera lens, right, I would tremble within. I'd be like, you know what, maybe this isn't for me, and all those thoughts would creep in. And then no matter how hard I tried, I could not connect with you authentically here. But now I can. I don't have any problem. I know that as you are listening to this, you're feeling this connection, because honestly, as I am speaking this, I'm already feeling that connection with you. In my camera lens, I see you. I see that audience. I see you, and I know this for a fact that this energy gets transferred. But that happened because I recognized this. So this is your first step, the identities that you're holding on to. And that brings me to step number 2 of building habits that last. See, by now you've recognized that the number one thing that's blocking you are your old identities. So you know, OS is old, I need to update it. So what would be the natural next step? Of course, to update the OS. So here's how you do that. I want you to write below the sheet of paper. I hope you're doing this with me, by the way. Even if you're not, you can watch the whole video, come back, but really do this, because this is going to be the thing that delivers your transformation. So write below that. If this is not the identity I want, what is the identity that I want? Just flip the old ones into a new identity. Write down I am and make that new identity. So for example, I made a new identity that said, I am a great communicator on video. I repeated that every single day. And guess what? This is who I became. So the truth is this, you don't need a lot of things to make change happen. All you need are a few simple principles aligned and powered and focused in a single direction. That's exactly what we're doing here today. So you would have noticed, I'm not telling you a lot of stories. I'm not telling you a lot of background. I'm just giving you the direct steps to implement so that as you're watching this video, you can get that result. So the next step is simple. Write down the new kind of identity that you want. And with that, we come to our final step for today, and that is practicing your new identity. Because the truth is this, just saying it once won't help. Just saying that, you know what, okay, this is what I wrote, this is my new identity. No. That's like doing a formality. You've done that in school, you've done that in college, you've probably even done that in your job. But here, let's not treat this casually, okay? Because this is your life that you're building. This is your dream. These are all the things that you've always wanted to achieve. So trust me on this. You've got to practice. You've got to really imbibe your new identity here and say this to yourself every day. Repeat these identities and ask yourself just one reflection question. what did I do today that was in alignment with these identities? Be aware of that. Be aware of your actions. And in 30 days, I'm telling you, in 30 days, you're going to notice things shifting within. You're going to see that no matter what happens, you are becoming that new person. You will go from saying, hey, I don't want a cigarette because I'm trying to quit. You'll go from saying that to saying, I don't want a cigarette because I'm not a smoker. You'll get that conviction. You let go of all those bad habits that you've always wanted to let go of once this switch of identity turns on in your mind. Because now your brain is not treating the new identity as a danger zone. It treats it as your home. It knows that this is the place where I belong. And how does it know that? Well, because you've repeated it to yourself, haven't you? So that's how this all works. The more you repeat, the more your brain believes it, the more it starts to feel like home. And anything that feels like home sticks around. So that's the key. You don't have to step out of your comfort zone to make big changes. That's actually a lie. All you need to do is expand your comfort zone and shift it into places where you want it to be. Like taking action, like growing in life, like making big leaps and bounds. But it begins with these 3 steps. And that's exactly what I want you to take action on. So tell me in the comments, what has been the most impactful step for you? And what is one new identity that you are embracing from today? Let's inspire each other. Let's connect with each other. And let's spread that positivity each week as we connect to empower our lives and to get closer to our dreams. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for spending this time of your weekend with me. And I'll see you next week.